And it was only 80 years ago when vestiges of segregation were still around. 80 years. That's not a long time in the human consciousness. That's not a long time in societal consciousness. And it's not a lot of time in terms of reversing the discriminatory realities that were faced that created the uneven playing field. Now, one other little brief thing I want to mention is that when should I say this? The conditions that people of color, especially blacks, face in the United States is not a black issue. There's some activists in here and some longtime fighters who fight for immigrant rights as well in this room. And there's a similar story here, which is the assumed political idea is that you should defend immigrant rights because you're in solidarity with immigrants and you're against immigrant exploitation and so on. Well, that's a certain level to be on, and that's credible, and many people join based on that criteria. But it's not the most important criteria to understand. The exploitation of immigrants is the exploitation of white workers and black workers and U.S.-born workers. It's the attack on their rights that gets used to keep us divided and create this subset of people that they can super exploit. And once they start super exploiting this group, they can use that to go after groups that are less exploited. That is the level on which it's important to join the struggle and support the struggle for black liberation. It's not a simple solidarity with black people. It's not a simple solidarity against police brutality against black people. It's that by allowing it to be acceptable for a grouping of people to be persecuted at such a high level, largely because of the color of their skin and secondarily where they live, opens the door for them to do that, for the police to do that to other people, and for the courts to carry out that same mentality of assumed guilt towards other people. One thing that and I can't speak for every Black Lives Matter in the country, ours is very specific. We were formed organically out of some very specific experiences by the individuals involved. We don't necessarily share all the views that other groupings share. But I almost lost my train of thought. But we believe that to build a movement in this city and any other city, it's crucially important to draw solidarity from all forces who want to join in the movement, no matter what their back, as long as they're not police, whatever their background and associations are. I did miss a point there, but it's lost now. Let me just briefly go into a couple of projects that we're involved with, just to give you an idea of the things we stand for right now in the concrete. We continue to work with various families. I remember my point now. There are too many times, and this happens across different struggles. This happens in the immigrant rights struggle. This happens in the black struggle. This happens in the struggle for women's liberation, in different ways. But as it pertains to the fights against police brutality, we champion the struggles of a number of different types of people in a number of different types of situations who get attacked by the police. One of the things that happens immediately when the police kill someone or brutalize someone is they try to criminalize the person who was attacked, either by showing their previous criminal record, which should not be a death sentence for somebody on the streets. So they show their criminal records. Even today, on the news, if you watch Channel 19 this morning, when they were going over the Sam DuBose case, they showed a clip of video Of all of the pieces of that video that they could have shown, and fine, you can say you don't want to show the shooting because it's brutal and stuff like that and stuff, fine. But of all the things that they repeated to show, they continuously showed the part when Sam DuBose handed the cop this thing that's popular in the black community, but it's like this container that sometimes is soap and sometimes it's cologne or like thing, you know, like scent for your car. And it looks like an alcohol bottle. And on it, there's written the big words gin, but it's not alcohol. And the cop knew it wasn't alcohol. He explained what it was. He showed it on his cam. But if nobody narrates that and you have a soundless clip, they keep seeing him handing the cop underneath his seat a liquor bottle. And they showed it literally in a space of 10 minutes. They showed that at least 10 times with no explanation. So, and they're going to try to, they're going, the campaign, and the trial is 15 months after this happened. They're going to try to create the case to let Tensing off. So we have to be prepared. And that's why one of the things that we do is we continue to work with families to get justice, to get facts for their case, to get things put out publicly, and to help provide a public voice for them to express their demands and their prerogatives. And we don't stop. Sometimes when things are less popular, they get gone away from, or people flock to the next thing. We're not. We're for justice, and we think that cases, even in cases where cops are acquitted, we're for calling for retrials, to reopen cases. We don't care what the law says. We don't care if they say cops can't be tried again. All right, so working with families is extremely important. One other thing that a campaign that we're in the middle of organizing is called CPD out of CPS. And this is demanding that police officers are no longer employed and used as security in public schools. This is directly connected to what is known by many as the school-to-prison pipeline. If it's true that the rates of suspension and discipline are higher substantially for youth who are black who go to school, if those rates are higher, then it necessarily follows that once you bring in police, the number of people who find themselves being taken down to the, getting put in the system, getting arrested, or having some kind of negative interaction with police is higher, necessarily higher, if the cops are the ones who are there. This is a real discussion and a real debate because, people want their kids to be safe. People don't want people bringing guns and knives into schools. So it's not an easy position. But if we say that, I believe that what's true where you live is true where you work, is true where you learn. If the police are a certain way in your neighborhoods, if they indiscriminately treat certain people this way there, that will also take place in the schools. And it has. It will also take place in the workplace. And it does. So I'll just leave that there. We can definitely discuss it, but so that we have time to discuss, I won't unpack that completely. We carry out educational events throughout the city, and we speak at other groups' events. We think that it's important that other people who are fighting for their rights, and not everybody agrees with each of these things that we're fighting for, but women's rights, immigrant rights, fights against Islamophobia. We're there and we participate in these things because we think that ultimately we're part of the same struggle. Even if we're taking off little chunks individually, each of these aspects of human oppression and exploitation are something that without winning on those fronts, we can't truly win on the front for black liberation. Okay, so actually I'll just, I'll end there. And hopefully we can have a good discussion. People can raise questions and remarks. And I don't know how we're going to do that, whether will field them, or you field
You can
them.
go ahead and
Or
field
you can
them.
field them?
We can help with
Perfect.
that.
Okay. That's it.